Hi, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today on the webinar. Today we'll be talking a little bit about understanding burnout. So just before we begin, I'd like to do a sound check. If you can hear me, please let me know in the chat. Okay, fantastic. Great, so let's begin. My name is Sze Jin, and I'm a psychologist and coach on Uprise. So Uprise is a well-being platform paid for by our company. And if they are your EAP, you can speak to a coach like myself. We currently have coaches from all parts of the world. If you have any questions, please post them on the chat, and I might not get to them until the end of the webinar, but I'll do my best to answer all of them. Also, a recording of the webinar will be sent to you, so don't worry if you miss anything out. Okay, to begin, I just like to get a feel to see how everyone is doing, like how you're feeling at work. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being super energized, can you let me know in the chat how motivated or energized you feel at work? 7, 7. 7 after a week off. Okay, so quite a wide range. Some of you are feeling like above average, some of you are feeling below average. So for those that are feeling, below a 5, hopefully some of the tips that I'll cover today will help you be able to use some of them to recover a little and maybe slowly go up to a 5. And for those who are above a 5, let's see how we can maintain and remain above a 5. So to understand burnout, we'll talk a little bit about the different terms first that relate to burnout. So a lot of times, we can get confused between a disengaged employee and someone that is feeling burnout. So someone who's experiencing burnout, they start from being an engaged employee. So, like that person who comes into work, super excited, super ready to learn, wanting to do a lot of things, wanting to grow. But then after some time, they keep working and working without any break. And they've put in so much time, so much effort. And slowly, the job starts to become kind of meaningless to them. So that's someone who might be experiencing burnout. Whereas for a disengaged employee, it's someone who just goes into a job and never ever cared before, they're just like, this is a job, just do the job well, but don't really care about it. So probably working with a lot of just, your thinking mind without even using much heart. And the one that we all strive for as individuals and organizations is to be an engaged employee. So how do we become engaged and continue being engaged without becoming burnout? So that's what I'm gonna cover throughout the rest of this talk. So what is burnout? Understanding burnout, right, is the first step to preventing it. Burnout is a syndrome that's conceptualized as resulting from chronic work stress that has not been successfully managed. And it's characterized by 3 dimensions. So there's 3 parts of burnout. First, feeling of energy depletion or exhaustion. And then second, there's this mental distance from one's job or feelings of negativity or cynicism when it comes to your job. And then after that, there's also reduced in your productivity at work. So for most people, burnout follows a path. It starts with exhaustion first, then it leads to cynicism, and after that leads to negativism. So it's you start off feeling so tired, then you have no more resources left to feel like you can make a difference or to portray that positivity. And we all only have so much to give. So if you keep giving and giving and giving without building it back up, that's when, burnout can happen. And also like burnout is used to describe only work context and usually is not applied to any other parts of our lives. So there are many reasons that cause us to feel burnout. Like imagine you, like I shared earlier, you start a new job and you're super excited, ready to learn. However, like as weeks go by, you start experiencing one or more of the following. So maybe like you have an inability to influence decisions that affect your job. So maybe like your schedule or like your assignments at work or workload, or maybe you don't have the resources that you need to do your work. Or if you are unclear about like the degree of authority you have or what your supervisors or others expect from you. So that's also going to make you feel probably uncomfortable at work. Or maybe, you work with an office bully. So for example, I like just a personal example, I used to feel super excited at one of my previous workplace, but then I experienced this person who started spreading rumors about me or started undermining my work. Then at that point, I started to feel quite demotivated at work. So this is something that can cause job stress as well. Or if your job is like very monotonous or chaotic, and like you need so much energy just to remain focused. Like imagine using so much energy just to remain focused in a day. That can be exhausting as well. Others, they might feel very isolated at work. Like sometimes when you join a company, they don't give you much support. They just tell you, oh, okay, go ahead, do whatever you want. That can also make you feel quite stressed out at work. And lastly, like if there's no work-life balance, so like work takes up all your day. By the time you are done with work, it's 9 p.m., you're exhausted. All you want to do is sleep. You don't have time for friends. You don't have time for family. Yeah, that can cause you to feel burnout as well. So some warning signs, right? So warning signs, they vary for every individual. Some people might feel depressed, others might end up putting on like 10 kilograms of weight. So sometimes it's very hard to detect burnout. And we might just write them off as like, oh, it's just a personal problem. However, like it's important to be aware of some of the signs that you can notice, whether it's in yourself or whether it's in others. So like for chronic exhaustion, you might find yourself lacking energy or feeling tired all the time. Or like, you go to bed early, but the next morning you wake up and you're still tired. And everything about your day just feels so lethargic. Or you just feel like you need to call in sick all the time, can't get out from bed. Or sometimes like you might feel like, you start wanting to have like resistance to socializing. You don't want to go out with lunch anymore with your colleagues or with your friends, or you feel like being alone all the time because like interacting with others is just exhausting. Sometimes you might feel detachment, detachment from others, from your environment. It could be like what I shared earlier, some isolation from others, but it can also be like a detachment from responsibilities, responsibilities at work, or maybe responsibilities at home, like calling in sick or not wanting to do your work. And also you could be experiencing like a loss of productivity. So despite working like super long hours, maybe you start at 7, you end at 9, somehow you cannot get your work done. Like there's still so much work and it's so hard just for you to focus on doing your work. And the complete opposite can happen, right? You compensate by by switching to what you think is like high gear. So you spend more time at work, you take more work home, you give up outside activities just to get work done. And then you go to work earlier, you leave work later. You just make a lot of decisions that's just work, work, work. And whenever like something fails, like a project at work fails, you take it very personally. So that's like the complete opposite that could happen as well. But burnout can also lead you to feel like nothing's going to turn out well, with cynicism. Like you feel like a person who sees the glass as always half empty or completely empty all the time. And in some cases, right, we can see that, there's diminished amount of self-care. So you or your friends or family begin to notice that you are not doing what you used to do to take care of yourself. Maybe you stop exercising, or you stop like dressing up to go to work. Even simple things like this could be signs of burnout. And then like survival coping. So survival coping is like when you decide to go maybe to the happy hour every single day instead of what you used to do once a week. Okay, so burnout has effects on different people. It has effects on individuals, and also effects on organizations. So for organizations, right, burnout actually has a very huge cost to organizations, and it can be contagious. So if someone at work is experiencing burnout, they might end up causing like conflict at work, or maybe like increased work disruption, or their feelings of negativity. It spills over to others at work. They might start to influence others to think negatively about work, negatively about the organization, or there's like high turnover rates. At one of my previous companies, like there's almost one person resigning every single week. So when you see that happen, like then maybe there's something for organizations to think about. Oh, okay, what's going on here? So what can you do, right? Because burnout can have a negative impact on both individuals and organizations. So when we think of a solution, it has to come from both the workplace as well as individuals. So for the organizations, right? Organizations need to think whether there are real tangible programs to help employees with their well-being. Are there indications that caring for well-being is important for organizational success? How are the leaders, are the leaders good role models in terms of taking care of themselves or taking care of others? And also like looking at the culture of the organization. So the culture of organization can work towards or against supporting well-being. So for example, like a good culture that supports well-being, maybe like trust, like does the organization trust their employees to do a good work, or do they like micromanage every single thing? Does the organization believe in like a work-life balance, allowing employees to do the best that they can at work, but also allow them to go home to their families and take some time off? So organization support is very important for preventing burnout in employees. And another thing is managers, so managers are like this in between, right? In between upper management and in between the rest of the staff. So for managers, right, managers can think about the idea of recovery time for big projects and big deliverables. So for example, like managers, they can proactively say things like, oh, after your big project or big presentation, why don't you go and do something that feels good? Maybe take a little break, get a cup of coffee, do something that helps you recover. Maybe it's like taking some time off from work or taking the day off. Focus on something different as compared to what you've been working on for such a long period of time. So it's very important for managers to recognize and acknowledge that there's this need for recovery time. And having recovery time, right, it doesn't mean that everything will get better. It just means that like it gives a little break. So a little break between a project and then after that coming back to it again. It's like taking that pause. Another thing that managers can do is have meaningful check-ins. So especially now, right, with COVID-19, because I think many of you are probably still working from home, for managers to show the employees that you really care, it's like not just asking, oh, what's going on with the project or how was the meeting, but actually treating others like human beings. So asking them, how are you doing? How's your family? Is there anything that I can help you with? How are you coping with work? I like, please don't take work home. Showing them that you truly care for them as people, like that they matter to you on an individual level. So the more managers can think about, am I creating a condition where my employees can truly feel engaged? Am I trying to support these different aspects of engagement? And it can be difficult, but it is doable as well. So it's also important for managers to take care of your own well-being, being a good role model for employees. Imagine, as a manager, you're working from 7 all the way to 9. I keep using 7 to 9 as an example, but let's say you're working 7 to 9 and you are sending out messages over the weekends, you're doing all these things, and you tell your employees, no, all of you need to take care of yourself. All of you need to have self-care. Your employees probably be like, but you don't do it too. Is there like some other message? Or if I don't work as hard as you, are you going to think that I'm not as good an employee? So it's very important for managers to set that stage, be a good role model for the employees. And also, if you are feeling burned out, it's very hard for you to take care of anyone else. And it might even affect your productivity at work. So now moving on to individuals, right? Like what can you do to prevent burnout? So the first thing is like you can discuss like specific concerns with your supervisors. Maybe you can work together to change expectations or reach compromises to solutions. So try and set goals of what must be done now and what can wait. So whether you reach out like to your coworkers or to your supervisors, it's very important for you to seek support. Sometimes we all need help, and it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. Like especially if your company has access to an employee assistance program, you can take advantage of the relevant services. Like I said, sometimes we all just need someone to talk to. And sometimes it's not someone at work, sometimes it's not someone at home. So even if it's a psychologist or a coach, it's important to reach out to get that help. And it's another part of, it is finding meaning in your work. So even in the most mundane jobs, right? Sometimes you can focus on how your role helps others. So for example, like maybe how does your role provide help to create a product or create a service? Like, what is your role in the bigger picture? How do you help others reach what they can do? So being able to change the attitude towards your job can help you regain that sense of purpose and control. Another thing is also like trying to connect with your colleagues at work. So I know like, for myself in the past, when I used to be able to connect with my colleagues, I would go out with them for lunch or just chit chat with them. I know now with COVID, we are all working from home. So it's like maybe even during team meetings, checking in with each other and being like, hey, how's things going? How's your day? Versus just talking like, okay, here's what's on the agenda. This is what we need to do today. So like that very human and personal connection, I think with COVID, sometimes we forget that we need that in the workplace. So trying to build that again with the rest of your colleagues. And if burnout is really inevitable, try and totally take a break from work. I know some companies, they allow for like month long of sabbatical, allowing you to use like sick days or taking a temporary leave of absence. Sometimes all you need is really just removing yourself from that situation to recharge your batteries and like pursue maybe other methods of recovery. And then setting boundaries. So this is very, very important. Right now, right, with COVID, I think a lot of us have been working all the way throughout the nights or maybe into the weekends. We receive texts, we receive emails over the weekends or after office hours, and we feel that urge, oh no, I need to reply it. But then, like, it's very important to be able to set those boundaries for yourself. So set a time each day when you completely disconnect. Put away your laptop, turn off your phone, stop checking your email. I know it might be difficult, but one step at a time. Maybe it's like putting your phone aside after 7 p.m. and not looking at it. Just one small step at a time. So talking about self-care, right? There are basics of self-care and can remember it very easily. So just A, B, C. A is for awareness, B, balance, and C, commitment. So the very first step in self-care, right, is being aware. So it involves like a checkup on your body and your mind. You are the only person who can take this first step because everyone's evaluation of stress and personal functioning is very different. So this step requires you to slow down enough, to focus inwardly enough to determine how you are feeling. So where is your stress level at? What thoughts are going through your head? And whether your behaviors and actions are consistent with who you want to be. So maybe I'll invite you to take a moment, close your eyes, and bring up a stressful situation to mind. See whether you can notice where this stress feels in your body. Do you feel it in your chest, your shoulders, your head, your stomach? And when you notice that sensation appearing in your body, what's your first response? What are you tempted to do? So a lot of times, right? You may open your eyes now, sorry. A lot of times when we feel stressed, we might want to run away. We might want to avoid the situation. But that doesn't make things better, right? It just makes things as it is, like leaves things as it is. So now that you recognize that you're feeling stressed out, it's important that you start taking action. So the second step is to seek balance, right? Balance in different types of activities. So this include your work, personal, family, rest, leisure. Like you are more productive when you have had opportunities to rest and relax. So what you can do is set goals for each category. For example, I will get a work phone and turn it off after 7 p.m. every day. Or I will spend time exercising at least twice a week. It's important to find balance between work and your personal life. So discuss your boundaries with your managers, your colleagues. If you're a manager, respect the boundaries of your employees. And if possible, also be a role model and set healthy boundaries and sufficient self-care for yourself as well. So if you're working from home, inform your family that you're working from home. When you need space, when do you need space? And when you need to not be disturbed. For example, like if my door is closed, I'm having a meeting, please do not disturb me. So something like that, just letting others know what your boundaries are, and then finding that balance, balance of work, life, family, play. These are all very important to have. And the last part of it, as an individual, there are many things you can do. So like I shared earlier, schedule time for recovery. This recovery time is very important. We take it for granted. We go from one thing to another, like COVID, you have meetings after meetings after meetings. So for example, for myself, right, every time before I have a session, I will schedule 2 minutes. So I have 2 minutes just to do a little bit of meditation, focus on my breathing. And then after my session, I'll do a reflection. How did my session go? What can I do better? And when my day is too stressful, I go out for lunch. Like I go out for lunch by myself. I think some of you are still in lockdown, so you might not be able to do that, but maybe going out to your garden, sitting outside, just to take your mind off work for a little while. And then see whether you can find things that give you energy instead, whether there are those projects at work that give you energy, or spend time with people who give you energy instead of those who drain you. So there are some people in my life that I totally enjoy hanging out with because they are positive and supportive and give me energy. Others who are more negative, before I engage with them, I always make sure I have sufficient resources first. Otherwise, I'll feel so exhausted by the end of it. And then being able to shift to a well-being mindset. So real things that you can do every day to prevent burnout. So noticing like how you think about yourself, maybe practicing some gratitude. Like I'm so grateful to be able to see all my colleagues at work, even if it's over the computer. Or I'm so grateful that I woke up today. Something simple like that. And also be clear, what is your purpose? What are you connecting to for your purpose on your job every day? And another one is accountability. So a lot of times, right, it's difficult for us to keep on track with our own goals. But if we have an accountability buddy, like this can be super helpful. So I have 2 friends in the chat group, and every week, we just check in on each other. So we set goals and we just motivate each other every week. If you don't have a group of friends, it's okay. You can post it on social media. So, like on Instagram, on Facebook, just some way to keep yourself accountable. So to sum up, right, burnout shows up in different ways for everyone. However, usually it's the most engaged employees that experience burnout. So it's important for managers and organizations to set a well-being culture and also to have regular check-ins to encourage employees to take breaks and find balance in their lives. And for individuals, it's important to set your own boundaries and dedicate time for yourself to be able to recover so that you don't experience burnout.